being African just started being cool. So when we see all these athletes going back and doing like, yeah, Africa, bro, where were they when we were struggling?
They were kids.
Huh?
They were kids.
They were kids.
They were kids.
Leroy
Sané is our age. Goli Cabo is our age.
They're probably
Kylian Mbappe is
they
our
were probably getting
age.
picked on as well.
Yeah.
Huh?
You never know the experience what they went through.
Yeah.
Identifying with Africa and stuff.
Come on, bro. I was over here African getting bullied by black people. It was very confusing growing up. Welcome back to another episode of This is Africa Season 3. Sorry for the break, y'all. We're back and the train is going to keep on rolling. There'll be no more stopping. I'm glad we're back. With that being said, my name is Adama.
You can finally put a face to the voice. Hi guys, I'm Tamba.
What's up, world? My name is Lord.
What's up, guys? My name is Amiri.
Oh, man. And this is Africa.
I can't believe Amir doing this with the fitted, to be honest.
Y'all gotta shout out to Brooklyn, yo. You feel me? You know my vibe. You know my vibe. So
Nice.
what's up? Can't believe you came in here in a soccer gear. So it's all good.
Africa. I'm representing
it's all
Africa.
good though. It's all good. You feel me?
It's Mali, baby.
That's valid. I mean, we're in someplace new now. As y'all can see, the setup is different. We're trying something fresh. This is all thanks to somebody wonderful, but I'm gonna let Lord.
Oh no! Shout out to Lee Diamond, Lee Diamond Enterprise, for making this happen.
Thank
This
you.
is definitely
Definitely.
a pleasure for you to let us use our space. Lee Diamond is located in Queens, New York. So if you're ever on 57th Avenue, next to Left Rec City, you want to get a fresh cut,
Yes, sir.
come down to Lee Diamonds. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 6 p.m. 6:30. If you want to get line up, fresh up, come toLee Diamond. All right.
Oh,
But
book
thank
an
you so
appointment.
much.
He don't do that pop-up thing.
You
no.
gotta book your
Book an
appointment. Book your appointment over the phone. Give you his card.
Yeah.
Book your appointment and come on time. You know what I'm saying? Because time is money out here. You feel me?
That's valid.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Facts,
you. Thank you
facts.
again, Lee, for believing in us. and
Thanks, Lee.
Giving us the
Appreciate it.
space.
That's a fact. All right, guys. I mean, we're doing something new. How we feeling about this? Are we
I
on
don't
to a
know.
new adventure? We excited about season 3?
I feel awkward on camera, to be honest.
I mean, they get
I'm a
to see
little
our
nervous. I
pretty.
can't lie.
I mean, the fans get to see our pretty faces, so I'm
Okay.
all good.
I appreciate
I
the
don't
compliment.
mind
how
that.
pretty they are, though.
I mean, I'm ready.
I don't know how pretty they are.
All of us. Wow. That's tough.
Yo, TK a hater.
We'll find that out way more this season for sure. TK is a hater. No, that's good. Lord, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get to business. All right, so let's get right into it. New format, like I said, guys. So just follow along. It'll be a fun ride. News. We're getting into our news first, guys. It's getting a little spicy out here in the world, right?
Definitely.
So let's get into it. Start off with some news. In Gabon, as we know, recently, General Oligui was sworn in as a transitional president, as he says. Obviously, this is big news coming out of Gabon. I don't know how we're feeling about it. I know some of us here personally don't dislike really military when they're in charge. And, are we really rocking with this whole phase in transitional institutions, as he's saying? I'm not really sure, But he's also saying that they'll make sure to complete all of their foreign commitments. And you would think that this is this would show the world that they're ready to go. But the world doesn't really care, since it seems like Gabon was immediately suspended from the African Union pretty much a day before any of this even happened.
That's crazy.
So I don't know how do we feel about coups in general? I mean, I feel like they happen often. Gabon isn't the first. I'm sure it won't be the last. But how are we feeling about coups? Is there anything alternative to coups? Do we believe they stick?
I mean, you can see, like right now, especially in West Africa, how there's coups kind of everywhere. There's a coup in my country that I'm representing here in Mali, and that's been going on for 3 years. There's a coup in Guinea that happened as well. That's been going on for 2 years now. There's a coup in Niger, which the French are having a tough time with. That just happened. And where else is there? There was a coup in Chad. That doesn't really count as a coup, but coup in Chad as well. Coup in Burkina Faso as well.
Yes, sir.
So as you can see, like it feels like some type of revolution going on. Like the military is kind of stepping in and kind of trying to take over. Me personally, like you said earlier, it's not. I don't think it's the best way to do it. I believe you should let the people choose, but it's more so what they do with it once they get to power, in my opinion. Because like we said at the beginning of the podcast, when you come into power, you always come to do the right thing. That's what they all said. We're coming in because we're tired of the old ways. We want to make it better. We want to do this and that. But is that really the military's place? You know, is that the right thing to do if the people never asked for it?
The military are the people, though, are they not?
No, but the military is. I mean, it's good that you bring that up so we can just explain it right now. The military is they're supposed to be apolitical. They're put in place in order to protect the people.
Okay.
Why are they in politics? You never see a military member as with their, their stripes on, trying to take over American politics. We had one military general who was, I guess, the president of Eisenhower, but he went through election to the right process. So now these people that are supposed to protect the people, they have all these guns to protect their population, are actually overthrowing the government. And this, it makes us kind of spiral into something that it's not supposed to be. Because do they have the competence in order to run the country? It takes a special person.
True.
Second, have they been chosen by the people? Because once they take over, is their freedom of speech still there? Is all these things still there? All these judicial stuff, and specifically with Gabon, what happened in Gabon? One thing I would like to say, just a little, asterisk on it. The president that was there before, Ali Bongo, was in power from 2009 all the way to 2023. So it was time for him to go. So again, with every African country, it does differ at how it goes. But since you brought up Gabon specifically, that he was there forever. In Guinea as well, Alpha Conde was there forever. True. In Mali, wasn't there forever. Burkina Faso, he just got elected. In Niger, he got elected 2 years ago, and they've been trying to do coups. So with every African country, it varies, but we can just see a trend that there's a coup going on in all these African countries. Even in Senegal, man. Senegal never had a coup in their history.
That's a fact.
And I know
we spent last season talking about how peaceful Senegal was.
Exactly, but now there's been some turmoil in there as well. Hopefully nothing bad happens there, but just like to give you like the news kind of news flash. We'll get in more into it again, some more detail for people that are not too familiar with African politics and stuff like that. But I guess that me personally, I don't like it, and I know the African population and the African Union and ECOWAS and all these big major parties that are going on don't like it. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but maybe I'm just a pacifist. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, so guys, I'm the only person representing the Caribbean here. Adamus from Senegal, Tiki's from Mali.
You barely represent the Caribbean. Stop it.
Here we go. Here we go with the hateration. But it's all good. But I think a deeper question to really ask is, why do you guys see more coups happening on the African continent rather than anywhere else? Is that a byproduct of like instability within countries, or is just that presidents is holding reign for too long, and then the people want to revolt against the regime?
For me, really quickly, I definitely Laura get you to get into this. I think from the people's perspective, what I think about, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking about just famous people and things that have been historic that they've done in life, and Tupac came to my mind, especially around this question, because I think about an interview that he was in where he was talking to the interviewer just about black people in this country and the tribulations that they had to go through, and just a synopsis of the quotes, of what he said in total. It's it always starts off with when you see people who are enjoying the wealth, enjoying all these beautiful things, and you feel like you can't have it, but
true,
supposedly it's accessible. It starts off with we're hungry, please, can we have some? You know what I mean? That goes on for a while. You know what I mean? And then it goes to, we're hungry, we need some. You know what I mean? And then from there it kind of goes to all right, give me all the food or I'm gonna break down the door type of thing. You know what I mean? And then it goes to, now I'm breaking down the door and I'm coming in. I'm getting that. There's no way that you guys are gonna continue to withhold this from me. And I feel a lot of the times, from a people's perspective, that is where this comes from sometimes. You know what I mean? And that
true.
That resonated with me when I thought about this question and stuff like that. So that was kind of
but then again, the people are not the one doing overthrowing. That's where there's a little caveat to what you're saying.
Well, not always.
I would agree with you if it was a people thing, but the people can't take a government out of place. You need the military to do it, and that's what we've been seeing.
Yeah. But it does start off with the people being upset. It's not it's just a lot of the times where it's just the military wakes up and they go and they do the coups. Obviously, it does happen. Obviously, it's happened before. But in a lot of cases, for example, in Senegal, the people are genuinely just as upset. You know what I mean? Everyone is upset. You know what I mean? And that's kind of
okay. And kind of so for people to understand as well, because we kind of talk about this because we know, but for people to understand, imagine you're in America, right?
Yeah.
And people are upset. People are upset about anything.
Yeah.
All right, and you can if you can get organized enough, you can get a crowd to make anything happen. We know that. We've seen it throughout history, right?
Sure.
Just imagine in America tomorrow you wake up, right, and then people are upset. Oh, even take the January 6th stuff that happened as an example. Imagine though the military came in and it's like, all right, we're not behind the president who got elected. We're taking over now. And they come in, they take over. Then next thing that happened, we have to shut down. Nobody can go outside for however they do. They give us a curfew.
Yeah.
You know, they shut down the internet.
Right.
They shut down all our financial institutions. Then when the U.S. you want to make transactions, get your money out of the banks, all that is shut down for at least a couple of days. How would that go?
Yeah,
You know,
that's a great point you just
what I
brought
mean?
up.
And that's what's happening in these African countries. Like they shut everything down. It's not that the people don't want that. You know, there's no way a majority of the people want the military to take over. Once they get into power, then they're scary now. They have their guns behind them. You speak against them, they put you in jail. Guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna fall in line, of course.
Yeah.
But now, since they have that opportunity, you have an opportunity to change things. But once they get into power, we see that things are not getting changed necessarily. So that's the only thing I'll say to your point, that it's not the people making these moves. It's more so the military, really. You know, so I wish the people did it, man. I'm behind that. So come on.
I would say too, that's a quick thing I've noticed as well. You see, like in America here, in the US here, like a lot of westernized countries, we do have a system of check and balances. And I think that's kind of lacking on a lot of those African countries continent. Whereas like
You don't say.
whereas like if the military take over a regime, is like, who do they answer to?
Themselves.
Whereas like here is like, if the military take over the presidency or whatever, like they have to answer to something or someone.
They won't though.
We're here.
So the reason, I get what you're saying. Basically, what you're trying to say, a reason, one of the reasons a coup cannot happen in America is because the institutions are too strong.
Yeah.
You have like strong institutions. You have the Supreme Court. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
definitely.
You have the judicial branch. You have
Yeah.
the legislative branch, right, which is Congress, and then you have the executive branch, which is the president and his office, the White House.
Then you also have other military branches too, like the National Guard, and you have the military.
Yeah, but
as well.
they're all under like the president, right? So he's the commander in chief. But in order to make stuff happen in America, you need to go through Congress in order to make certain things happen.
Yeah.
And some things have to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. So those, like you were saying, those checks and balances, they check each other. In some of our countries, we don't have that, man. And to your point, you're right. Like we don't have that. That's why something like that couldn't happen. But that's what we need to get to. We need to get to a point where that can happen. But for example, in the case of Congo that we brought in the beginning, Ali Bongo's been in power since 2009, bro. It's 2023. You don't know where I was in 2009? Come on, bro. Like, I'm an adult now. Like,
middle school.
I was like some kids that all they've known is Ali Bongo for the
entire life.
For the entire life. So he obviously, I don't know. I don't know if he was there through free and fair elections. How many elections they had in Congo? I would need to go back to it and like look into that specifically into it.
Yeah.
But I can assume that free and fair elections weren't happening. He's been in power for a long time. You know what I mean? So those checks and balances are hard to put in place because he was the one in power. He was the ultimate check and balance. He's like a dictator, you can say. So it's kind of hard to make stuff like that. I agree with your point. You should implement those things, but I feel like today our conversation is not there because in order to get into that could take a while, man.
It's a lot of factors that play a part.
Like, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that like we've all. I mean, to me, I feel like in regards to the coups, I've seen this all play out before. Especially in regards to the coups that's happening now, especially what's going on a global scale. I feel like we've seen this, especially around the time during the Cold War era, because if you notice with the coups, there's a lot of Russian sentiment towards it too. In regards to those who, in regards to the countries that are going through coups right now, they're actually buddying up to the Russians. The reason why I'm saying
Can you explain to the people why?
The reason why they're doing is because now, in regards to the coup, so back then during the coup, when coups used to take place back then, it was more so of a political coup. But now, if you pay attention, you look at it right now, it's more so economic rather than political. Because why, when the coup happened, I'm blanking on which African country said that we're no longer trying to use the friend safer anymore, or they're actually looking to Russia to actually help fund them in regards to the things that they want to implement in their country.
Yeah, but there's a pretty like easy answer to that though. It's just because France cuts ties. They freeze your funds. So who's
Yeah.
gonna give you money?
that's
The
true.
other side.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because those who are in power were actually cozying up to the French.
Yeah.
But now it's like, hey, since we're
As a
in
lot of people
power,
still are.
we don't want the French no more. We actually want to dictate things now. And the reason why I said I've seen this all before is because right now, like America, Russia, and in some cases China, are all not getting along with each other all over again.
Yeah.
And guess who they're looking at in terms of who's going to side with who or who's going to side with this person? It's Africa. You know what I'm saying?
middleman.
This goes back to the time where there was
Quite
coups
literally the
happening
middleman.
in the 50s and the 60s, where when coups was happening, it was between like, oh, it's either you're for socialist sentiment in regards to the Russians, or you're
Yeah.
more of a democratic building country in terms of the United States. So depending on which one you were at, which side you're rooting for, one or two things will happen. Either you're going to go through a coup, or an assassination is going to happen to
Or
you.
it's gonna end
One of
just
those
like
things.
that.
One of those
That's
two
true.
like
Yeah, that's
usually
right.
takes place.
For
So
sure,
right
for
now,
sure.
as I'm looking at the coups that are going on in regards to the economic sentiment behind it, I'm like, okay, this is not political. This is more so economic than anything. So that's why I'm saying that, like, I've seen this all before, and I'm trying to see how it plays out, because again, other things that are happening globally that I'm looking at, I don't want to go into it yet because I'll go into a long-winded spiel on it.
We got
But
more
my
coming,
thing
more coming.
in regards to the coup is that no, it doesn't work out for anybody. So in regards to what Tamba said, what do you do with the power when you have with it? And number three, in regards to the coups that's taking place, all I just got to say is that if an African nation is going through a coup right now, they should be very, very observant in terms of who are the power brokers behind, because a coup doesn't just happen out of nowhere. There's other big powers that's backing it in order for it to make it happen. So just be privy to that, to know that, like, hey, even though there's a regime change, who is pulling the strings for the regime change to happen?
For sure.
Man, the
Nah, I hear
content
that.
is just depressing, bro. At this
Yeah,
point.
we're gonna wrap that. We're gonna wrap it up from there.
Because before we wrap it, just listen to what you just said. Other people are coming to us, and they're the ones controlling why we're overthrowing and killing each other. Like, that's crazy. That's just depressing, man. That's crazy. That's just depressing to me. Like, how do we let that happen? We are humans. Like, we have intellectuals, people that are super smart as well, and we still letting this happen to each other.
But you also
look at us, able men, able to discuss this and talk about it like freely. Hey, this shouldn't happen. We know what's wrong from right, but it's still happening.
We're
Yeah,
also
but-
not sharing any of the same stressors that they're
True.
stressing, and or growing up in the same circumstances.
No, yeah.
You'd
no,
be surprised with how circumstances end up developing
No,
how
no,
your
no,
brain like
no.
ends up
I don't
yeah.
disagree. I don't disagree. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't take a genius to know like this is not right.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, the adults in the room
yeah,
definitely
but-
should know it's not right. For sure.
Come on, now we're gonna start being adults who are adults. Come on,
For sure, for sure, for sure.
But it
I
goes.
got you.
I feel like it goes beyond just wrong and right, and more so with just strategy, like global strategy.
Yeah, that's
Because at the end of the day,
Uh-huh.
if these global powers are pulling the strings in regards to how these things are going to execute and play out, that's the thing that I'm concerned about in regards to the coups that's taking place. Because keep in mind too, like when doing my research, you have a better likelihood of having a regime change through a coup than a democratic election.
That's nuts.
That's actually
That's
pretty
nuts.
insane.
And that's factual too.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like
They need to start
the
putting this out on the
outcome
African
of
Summit,
you
you know,
going to-
PowerPoint.
the outcome of you actually attaining power through a democratic election is so like unpredictable that a coup has an actual predictable outcome in terms of you attaining power.
And
That's nuts.
to your point, that's why every time there's elections in Africa, we have to watch it. Like, everybody's there. Like, what's gonna happen? Is there a coup? Like,
Yeah, nah, I know. My mom be in the crib
never
stressing.
happened.
With a coup, you have a 50-50 chance of actually attaining power. That's a better likelihood than the lottery, yo.
I mean, this is a
Like,
conversation
seriously.
for another day, but like,
Nah, definitely.
bro,
Nah, this
maybe
is wild.
elections is not we gotta find another way to do elections.
Yeah.
We gotta find another way. There has to be
But-
another way. This is not working for us.
That's
And you know,
I feel like if people
it
act
could be
accordingly, things
because
could
of
all go
people.
swimmingly.
There's a lot of factors that we always get into: corruption, weak
Yeah.
institutions. It's just whenever we start talking about Africa and like governmental stuff, you guys know, like, it gets depressing and I get cynical because of these reasons. Because what are you gonna do? Who would stay there in their right mind? Think about how many opportunities are being taken away.
Ooh.
I'll give you an example. For example,
That's a great point.
I have I'll just tell you, my little brother goes to an American school
Yeah.
in Mali, or right, and a bunch of people in the school are not coming back. Wanna know why?
Yeah.
Because there's a coup there. Why would you go and try to invest your life there?
Yeah.
You know, why would they stay there?
Honestly, that's
And
a
those are
perfect.
foreigners. Those are not Malians, but those are foreigners. Just saying.
That
makes
is
sense.
a perfect. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is a
Nah,
perfect transition.
That's a valid point.
Because honestly, that gets into our sports. When we talk about the state of just like, well, in general, we were going to talk about the state of our people in soccer kind of thing. But honestly, let's just get into.
I'm not gonna lie.
Let's address the elephant in the room, as they would say. Because sometimes I think about questions like, are we just not good enough to win stuff like World Cup because our people are everywhere else but here?
We went from depressing to more depressing.
I don't know. I don't know, bro.
I don't think
Because
so.
when I list certain people, like listen to these names, I like. I mean, obviously, Chelsea fan. Obviously, got the Molly
You know
jersey.
that. You
Lord,
know
I know.
that.
You don't really watch too much soccer, but you watching. You know your thing. We got players like Leroy Sané, who is Senegalese, but obviously plays for Germany.
Not African.
We got Cody Gakpo, who is from Ghana.
Not African.
But obviously, we have Ansu Fati, who's from Guinea, who plays for Spain.
Not African.
There's so many people. You know what I mean? They're just not. No, you're not.
Tiki,
None of them. They're not
You
African.
can't say that though.
They're not.
Why would you say that?
Who do they
makes
play
them
for?
not
Do they play for
African?
any African country?
No, but
enough.
here-
So you not playing for African country makes you not African?
You're
if you
not-
have lineage of African ancestry,
What do they do for Africa? Let's get to it. What do they do for
A
Africa?
lot of them give back.
I mean,
a lot
but
of them
there's-
do give back, even though they don't play per se. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because Leroy Sané's father. Oh, did he actually play for Germany? Ooh, I mean, I'll state that on news just in case I'm factually wrong. So I'm gonna leave him alone. All right, I'm gonna leave him alone. But there are
ahead.
tons of players whose fathers have played for their African side, and then
Listen. If you wanna, let's get into it. Let's get into the sports segment of this. Listen, I'd rather give the people that stayed in Africa their flowers than the people that did not stay. That's not saying I have anything against Leroy Sané or Ansu Fati or even Pogba, Mbappe, all these guys. They're all great people, and I support them and I like them, and they represent us at a high level.
they are African though, bro.
But no. Let me land. But I'd rather give the flowers to people that stayed, like Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah,
Legend. I'm not.
Riyad Mahrez,
Yeah, of course I won't disrespect those
Obama
guys.
Yang,
Yeah, of course.
Chupon.
but they all playing in Europe.
Boateng.
But that's their club. They still come home and represent their country. That's
Yes.
fine.
But that's the question I want to ask, because one thing which I've seen in regards to like my research that I did is that a lot of the African players that play in European leagues, when it comes to because I feel like it's two different arenas, like with FIFA and like the AFCON, right? With AFCON, I saw that a lot of
That's FIFA too, though.
African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, it's under
That's
FIFA. Yeah.
All right. So, but in that arena, right, a lot of African players actually come back home to play for their respective countries. Like as you said, like Sadio Mane, Salah.
And that's why we respect them.
on our end. Yeah, but a lot more actually play more so in the AFCON than in regards to like the world stage of FIFA.
Okay.
You know,
There's
from what I've seen, like. Just,
Yeah, no, that's a really good point that you say,
Yeah.
honestly, because it brings a big point, and this is where I think TK like is missing something a little bit, because a lot of these players, like they were talking about Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah, they're born in their countries.
True.
We're talking about Leroy Sané. These are kids who may or may not have grown up in Germany. You know what I'm saying?
Guys,
they're
not
like kids, like
they're
for
not
example.
African.
What does that mean? Because then you're telling me that I'm not African. If I went pro and I decided to play for the United States, right?
True.
And I went and I played, right?
I'm not
And then
gonna
I
lie, you
still
lost
go
me, man.
home and I still go back to Senegal and I give back to my people. I wear the shirt on my sleeve. You're not gonna tell me I'm less
It's
African.
a valid
You've
point.
lost your
I
mind.
agree.
You're an American, but you came back to your mother's country.
Yo, that's crazy.
I mean, how else are we gonna
You lost
say
me.
it?
Yeah,
How else
that's
are we gonna say it?
crazy.
You do not. You're not representing,
Bro.
Unless
But you're because to me you're mad at the wrong person, right?
Who am I mad at?
You're
I'm
supposed
not
to be
mad at
frustrated.
anybody.
Okay, cool.
I'm not mad at anybody.
But I think you should be taken out because honestly, they are still African. Your problem though should mostly be with the African countries themselves
I
and the
agree.
lack of development and the ability to make
agree.
the right stuff for these kids to develop themselves into players.
True.
Think about these leagues and these young camps. These people come up with like Messi, for example, played in the Barcelona league. As a kid, the young cup went up through the whole system. Under 12, under 17, under 20, all the way up until he made it to the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
No,
also for his sake.
I get your point, right? In terms of development, there's a lot of that's kind of what I wanted to get. There's a lot of things missing on our continent when it comes to sports, and I'm telling you, sports people, they will tell you all the time. Even there's a lack of infrastructure or academies. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hard for me to empathize with all of that stuff. There needs to be a pioneer. Somebody got to sacrifice themselves, man, in order to
Alright, go ahead.
to be a pioneer. And more now, like things are happening. Like for example, Senegal does a great job. Their players are
Yes.
all world class playing on
Yes.
the world stage.
Yes.
Even some Malian guys play on the world stage. Egyptians,
Yeah.
Morocco,
Even stuff like development, the basketball Africa League.
even Ivory Coast for a while was a champion.
Ivory
in that.
Coast was
There's a
fire.
lot of players that do come in Africa and do stay in Africa, and those people. That's why I applaud them because they're going through the hardship. Because sometimes even like getting on a plane, for example, they put their own money in order to get these people the plane. The training facilities are not the best, so a lot of times I understand why people don't want to play and represent, come back to Africa if they've lived in these countries for their whole life, but that's not part of their identity anymore. You know, in my opinion, they can still love Africa and even you're not African, but you still love Africa. You would go there if you need to help. You would help. You would donate.
I've never been there, but I'm looking forward to it.
But I'm just saying, like, it's kind of, for me, it's harder for me to respect, right, somebody as an African who claims, not claim, but who originally from there, their parents are there, and their parents may even live there, and you don't represent your own country, man. I can't.
I don't know.
Me personally.
I'll disagree with that because at the end,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, for me, it's all about money. If I'm being valued at a different space, way more than I'm being valued in my own home.
True.
At the end of the day, like, look, I've really gone to practice, run how many miles I got to run,
Yeah.
put in
The
all
work.
this blood, sweat, and tears. To give my family an economic opportunity to get out of the hardship that they're in. If I'm being valued way more else, with a lot more money somewhere else than in my own home state, I'm doing it. Like, and it doesn't diminish my
See what I'm
Africanness
talking
on a
about?
whole new level.
It's people like him.
No, it's not people
No,
like
it's
me.
people like him,
Because
bro.
at the end of the
It's
day, you
people
can
like
say
him.
the same thing for any profession. In regards to
Stop it,
why,
man.
no, it's serious. It's the same thing for any
Giannis
profession.
not playing in Greece.
If I come
Greece
to a
got
different-
basketball.
Yeah.
He's playing in Greece.
No, but he's playing back for the country. But at the same time, he's not spending his entire career there.
No, but that's
Because-
club.
because
We're
I-
talking about club versus country. That's different.
Giannis was a bad example.
I
Actually,
understand-
I
I
should have
understand
thought that
that.
was
It
a
was
little bit. Yeah, I was
You
gonna say-
gotta give it that. That was a bad
No, I'm not
example.
giving you
You gotta give it that. You gotta give it that.
in regards to like just the investment, I believe that, like, look, there's a lot of, you could attribute it to other professions too as well, where you get invested or you're more valued. Like, for example, like doctors are way more valued in the United States, way more than in Nigeria. You know what I'm saying?
That's
But
true.
does that make them less Nigerian if they decide to take their talent somewhere else?
Bro, they're not changing their citizenship.
I understand
see-
that.
all right.
But in regards to, but you're talking
They
about
can,
in
you,
regard.
you can be a doctor here and be a doctor in Nigeria. It's the
I
same
understand that, but in regards to
Damn, I feel like we're
you
losing this
actually
argument a little bit,
using
y'all.
your
We need to-
talent more so at home than in another country, I'm talking about more so. That's the point I'm trying to make in terms of, like, look, if I have a skill set like playing soccer or any other skill set, and I see that, hey, my skill set is not worth more money monetarily at my home country than somewhere else, I'm going to another country to make more money, because at the end of the day, it trickles down
Listen.
or it goes to other parts of my family too as well. That does not diminish my Africanness in any way, shape, or form, because at the end of the day, it goes beyond me. It goes to my family members back at home through remittances, through other opportunities that I give to them that they're using me for. So again,
Yeah.
it will never diminish my Africanness if I choose not to use my talent back at home. Now you have the choice to,
Okay,
but
hold
it
on,
doesn't
hold on.
diminish
I
it.
just said, so if the fact that you brought in the like other fields aspect to it, it's a little different when it comes to sports, right? I do agree with you in that sense, because sometimes you have to say, yeah, I need my money, I want a better life for my family, and as an individual, you could choose to leave your country, which is why we're all here. Actually, like, that's why we're not all back home staying with our countries. But when it comes to sports specifically, I just have a question: who's more African, Kylian Mbappe or Sadio Mane? You tell me.
That's disrespectful.
no,
You
no,
can't
in
do
regards
that,
to-
bro.
no,
That's unfair.
No.
I'm asking the questions. I'm asking the
Because that goes to
no.
Answer the
those
question,
are two
please.
different people.
No,
It's not who's
Those
more
are two different
African,
people.
who's
Sadio
African.
Mane
Paul-
grew
Paul-
up in
Paul
Senegal.
Pogba.
Kylian
Paul
Mbappe is a
Pogba.
little
But
kid, bro.
but
The
they are-
address
they're
he
still
knows
African.
is whatever the court side is in
They're both
France.
African to me.
They're both African to you?
One is not more African than
So
the
Kylian
other.
Mbappe is not French.
No, one may have done
He is
more for
French.
Africa, but he's
But
not less
also-
African.
But he's
You
also,
guys are disrespectful.
And
But
Mbappe
he's
would have to
also
tell me
African.
himself
You
that he
as a
feels
Senegalese,
less
you
such.
disrespectful.
Bro.
That's not
Because you're telling me
disrespectful.
I'm less African. Because my situation is like Mbappe, bro. I'm born
True.
here. Like, I'm
Facts.
born in America. Like, I live down the block.
And this-
Like, I'm confused.
Adama,
Huh?
if you were asked today to throw on your Senegalese jersey to go play for Senegal,
Okay.
or to go play from TUSA, which one are you putting on?
First of all, I'm going to play for Senegal, but it's for different reasons, though. Hold on. Hear me. I have to finish my point, though.
Finish your point. Go ahead.
To add to it, though, but there's a lot of context. I
are a true
grew
African.
into this. I grew into it, though. It's completely different. Because if you asked me this when I was in high school, I'd go play for the United States. Back in high school, I'd go play for the United States. It was a transition for me towards the end of high school through college till now, that now I identify way more with my Senegalese side.
Okay.
But if you asked me this a while ago, I would have played for the United States, and I still would have been just as African, because when I went home, I would have still ate my mafe, I would have still ate my yassa, I would have still ate my super kanje, and I would have.
But bro, an American can enjoy all of that.
Nah, because
An American can enjoy all of that.
because here's the
Just
thing.
saying.
Here's the thing too. Like,
American enjoy all of that. American enjoy your mafia, all that Senegal. You can enjoy all of it,
Bro.
but here's the
Why are you
thing.
bringing me into this?
Senegalese.
Go ahead, Lord.
Here's the thing too,
Go ahead, Lord.
which I also see in regards to, like, look, if you decide not to even play for your own, for your countrymen, for your own country, at least in terms of, and I'm looking at more at this from a starting point of view, you're actually in some cases giving the light to other players who don't even have the opportunity to go to these elite clubs in Europe. Because one thing which I also found out is that when a lot of African players play on the on the global stage, like the FIFA World Cup, a lot of recruits are looking at them too. Because they already have their star players that they want who are of African descent or are African. But now, since, like, because let's say if Mbappe decides to play for Cameroon, right? That stardom power might overshadow other people who are also just as good, or who are also trying to get on the come up to go into other leagues.
Hold on,
That's actually possible.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to a little point, because I definitely agree with that.
Go
because
ahead. So I'm the devil's advocate in this one. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I don't know. You just being over
there.
there right now. I ain't gonna lie. But like, on a Caribbean perspective, I would say there are a lot of Caribbean players that open the door for the whole Caribbean to play within these top leagues, within Champions League, Premier League, all these leagues in Europe. So, for example, in Trinidad, like, the player that's known to, like, open that door was Dwight York. He won the Champions League with Manchester United. He played with David Beckham. He played under Ferguson. He basically opened the door for a lot of
Where did he play for? He played for Trinidad National League?
Yeah.
Okay.
The national team.
You and me then. Come to this side.
No.
Okay, look. Let me pause real quick, because TK is going to cut you off, but I already know what he's going to tell you. Because TK's point is that it's not about the club part. It's really not about the club part. He's touching more about the fact of the national representation after you touch the club, right? But I still have a question that I still think is going to... I just want to hit you to answer, right? Okay. How could you not be proud that when France wins, they're not recognized just as, like, oh, the French won. It's always that the starting 11 was black as hell. They are all dark-skinned brothers, and they look African. We recognize it as such. That's the reason why we're having the conversation. You know what I mean? So Africa's still getting that shining light that we're majorly discussing. Is it because they're performing like greats?
All right, so I'm gonna bring up a special case for, like, the Dutch national team. A lot of the black Dutch players come from Surinamese heritage, and the main reason for that is because Suriname had a coup, and a lot of them migrated to, like, Holland. You feel me? So it's just only right. Like, famous player Clarence Seedorf that played for AC Milan, he represents Holland, but he still aligns with his Surinamese heritage. It's just that he plays for Dutch, but he's also showing light on a lot of Surinamese players. So, like, now when, like, the Dutch academy teams or Dutch national team go to scout players, they look for Suriname for players.
I like that.
You know, so it's like, eventually.
Let me just, little point. We won't even go into our lifestyle section because it kind of taps into a lot of this about how you identify. So enjoy this, and then for a couple, we'll do a little bit, and then we'll just end off on our.
Okay. So, all right. So I get what I said is kind of polarizing. What I said,
you're just wrong.
No. I get what I say. When I say, like, oh, they're not African, it's kind of like very blunt, and it sits in with, like, a lot of.
All right, here we go. He's about to tweak it. He's about to try to tweak it
because we're all living in diaspora, right? Right.
Pay attention though. Don't let whatever he does go over your head.
No. But let's hear me out, right? Think about this is like when I look at, like, for example, the example you bring in with the French national team, right? And them all being African. I just look at that, and all I see is, like, it's like a metaphor for what they took from us. Like, what they took from us. In a perfect world, if we weren't colonized and all these our people weren't taken from us, taken away across to other nations and stuff like that, right? all of these players will be playing for their respective countries. All these great players that we're looking at today, right? Ballon d'Or winners.
That's a perfect world, though.
Stuff like that. But I'm just saying that's the angle I'm looking at it from.
We don't live in a perfect world.
And I understand that, and that's why that's happening today. But let me land.
All right, land from.
And if you look at it today, it's a metaphor for what was taken away from us, and that's why it's so hard for me to say that they're African, because them themselves don't. They say when you ask about them, when you ask them, I saw a recent interview with Paul Pogba. He said when people say I'm French Guinean, but when I won the World Cup, it was for France. It was not for Guinea. He said that himself. These players themselves are saying it. Not saying that Paul Pogba doesn't do things for Guinea. Of course he can do things for Guinea. That's where his parents are from. Of course, but Paul Pogba himself is from France.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's my angle of how I look at it. In a perfect world, all these players stay back. It gives an opportunity to know that us Africans can do it. You don't need to go to these French countries. You don't need to go to Netherlands. You don't need to go to Germany in order to be great. You can be great while being African. And that's why I respect Sadio Mane so much, because he's doing what he's doing today as an African. He's wearing, when African Cup, people are watching it because Sadio Mane. He's also plays at Liverpool. How proud does that make you? He's an African that plays at Liverpool. Oh, now he's in Saudi Arabia. But he's an African that represents us as Africans. He's not somebody that's like, I'm French now. He doesn't have to say that. He said with a check, Mo Salah, I'm Egyptian. And I'm Egyptian. Not only I'm Egyptian, but I'm also playing this league with these top players. Coups, somebody I respect. He could have played for the French team. He could have. But he said, no, I'm going to go back and play for my country.
All right, so let me ask you a question now.
That's the sacrifice they have to make, and those players are pioneers. I'm sorry. They're pioneers. If you look at the U.S. team, Tim Weah's father is the president of Liberia.
Yes.
He's playing for the United States. Yes. Come on, man. His father's
So what?
Yes, I know. I get it.
Let's look at it. His father is the president of Liberia.
So
he represents the United States.
I know people who watch that game,
but he's shining light on Liberia.
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
How many times when you watch that game? Because it sounds like you watched the game live, right? Did you watch the game live?
Nah, I didn't watch it.
Okay, I watched the game live, and there were several times where the commentator, this analyst who was talking, like, you know how they narrate the game, you know what I mean, and a goal, all these different things.
Because it's crazy.
The man really was. He shouted out Liberia. He said who his father was, what he's affiliated with, and how it's going more than once. Now, how much awareness does that go? And then how many people do you think go and Google president of Liberia?
Bro, Adama. See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The awareness part is not the
awareness is a big part.
That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is that to the young kids, they think they need to go play for these teams. Like, they grow up, they're like, nah, I'm gonna be.
But bro,
not necessarily, because
yes, it's like a trickle down.
No, he's right.
It happens over generations.
Of course, you end up wanting to go play for Barcelona. You end up wanting to go play for Real or anybody in the Prem.
End up staying there, and then when a young mother, for example, right? Because you can look at a lot of people, players in Africa, soccer specifically. A lot of us were growing up, we all wanted to be soccer players, man. Growing up, most of us in Africa, everyone wanted to be. When an agent come with a contract, I'm gonna take your 7-year-old, right, and we're gonna take him to France, for example. He's talented. We see this kid, we're gonna take him to France. That kid grows up 7 years. He's in the academy. His whole life, he's being brought up. Maybe this is not how it happens, but this is just my idea of it, right? Because obviously I'm not gonna get into the details right now, but this is my idea. He grows up from 7. Now he's 16. Oh, you 16. Now he could go play for the national team. Where is he gonna play? Is he gonna come back home? He's gonna be like, nah. Mbappe's making money here. He's with this French team. I'm gonna do the same way. I'm taking Mbappe an example because he's just a big star.
That's fair, though.
Right?
That's fair. That's fair for them to think like that.
At that point, he chose.
Nah,
he does not represent.
But you're saying he's less African for going to go and follow his dreams.
He just doesn't represent Africa on the world stage at that point. After that,
I feel like it goes beyond that. It goes beyond sports too as well, because at the end of the day, soccer is just a small portion of their lives.
No, but then you can't say sports and then doctors. That just doesn't go together. Right. Sports is different.
Okay, in regards to sports, I feel like it's because
I don't know. I can't tell you one famous African doctor right now who did that.
That's right.
What, left the country?
I can't tell you one famous.
I feel like it goes. I feel like it goes beyond sports.
I mean, the famous one.
If you look at
that's fair.
our soccer our old soccer players like Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, and everything. They're
Come
not
on.
playing soccer now, but they're going back home and investing in the country in various ways.
Yeah, but they play for their country.
Diminish their African.
Lord.
Because at the end of the
See, that's
day,
what I'm
they
saying.
can use their resource that they got
When
from
you-
soccer and reinvest back into the country.
Exactly, and
know what I'm
when you make
saying?
examples
So
like
doesn't
that,
take
when you make
away
examples
from
like
you
that, this is why it's so hard for you guys to make the argument. Didier Drogba
No,
played
they
for
play for
Ivory
their
Coast his
country.
whole life.
Yeah,
Eto'o played.
yeah.
Eto'o, like those are Africans to the core.
Yeah, you have to refrain,
Those
'cause
are our pioneers. You can't compare them to.
I understand that.
I
but
still
that's-
think we're
that's
right,
the
but
thing
But
I'm
they
trying to
was
say
born
is
in
that
those
it goes
countries.
beyond the sport. Because at the end of the day,
of
it doesn't
born
take from
there.
your Africanness that look, even though you don't necessarily play for the national team, there's other ways to contribute to the country rather than just
Are they
playing for the
contributing,
national-
though?
for the
Yes.
for the national
Going and
team.
buying,
Yes.
going and buying
You know what I'm
books
saying?
and
Don't do that
So that's
because
what
you
I'm
do
saying.
not know.
It goes beyond that.
bro.
It
Keep it a
doesn't
stack.
have
Keep,
to be
wait.
just soccer.
You do not know.
you can
Because
use all
honestly,
that
if I asked you what
and
Sadio
reinvest
Mane
in
gives
other
back to
ways.
Senegal, you would not be able to listen to me.
He built a school, his village. He's changing his whole village right now. He built
He's
a
done
hospital.
considerably more, and I promise you would not be able to list them to me.
No, of course I can't list you everything.
Exactly.
But I know the stuff Sadio Mane is doing.
Sure.
I know what he's doing.
Cool, but I'm saying that for a lot of athletes, we do not know where they put their money.
Exactly.
So we're not going to say that all of them are
it
not,
goes
and that's the
beyond
only
that.
thing, right? Yeah. So there are people like Paul Pogba. Your Paul Pogba example was a good one, but that's Paul Pogba. That does not mean the same for everybody else, and that's kind of my thing, right? So obviously, I hear you. We should refrain from saying people who did play for like clubs and like because a country thing, because that's a very big point. But my thing, the distinction, obviously, for you is like whether or not they're representing their country. Let's say, for example, Leroy Sané scores a goal and then he rips up his shirt and like underneath it is a big Senegalese jersey. Would you then say he's
I'm
really
just tired
African?
I'm tired of defending people from their mouth themselves, right? Say that they are not
Yeah, but-
representing a specific country.
But bro, you can't represent both, and they're asking you.
Yeah.
No, but they say they're like, no, I'm German and I represent Germany when I play. They say like I hear people talk about when I do this, but I really represent Germany. I'm not African.
I hear you.
Like they say this stuff. It's not me. It's them.
I do not think you're wrong. I do not think you're wrong, but I also do think we are entirely not wrong as well. Because
there's both sides, of course.
Yeah,
There's
because
both
if
sides.
Kylian Kane sat down right here and like he told you he was African, you're not gonna tell him to his face you're not African. Like that's word to everything. You know, what I mean, that's not gonna happen.
I think-
Like if he told you he's African and then he starts
Yeah.
listing out all these things that he's done to try to prove, like bro, if he says he's African, he feels
Yeah.
that way. That's his culture. That's it's over at
I
that
don't
point.
know
think-
Mbappe,
I
but
think-
the last thing I heard from Mbappe when he was asked that question, he said he represents France.
Yeah,
All right, look, so I
he's
think-
telling you what he's doing.
I think
I'm
the
not
deeper,
defending him. I'm sorry.
I think the deeper question here.
Sadio Mane is my
It
champion.
goes beyond that.
Yeah, the
He
circumference
is my
of,
champion as well. I mean, we all believe that. We do support the guys represent the most.
I think this is the circumference of this debate is like the difference between nationality and culture. You can identify with your nationality, but do you identify with your culture?
Yeah.
I think that's what Tika's trying to allude to. Some of them identify with their nationality, but don't identify with their culture. But I would say that being that they do come from a specific culture, they're still shining light on that culture, whether they identify with it or not. Because it's like a lot of
He
these
knows
players
that.
who
You
think,
can't lie about
Yeah,
that.
but what does that do for us?
Nah, it
What you
does a
mean?
lot
What you
for
mean
us.
what it do?
does a lot for us, especially monetarily. It
good.
does a lot for
How?
us because it goes beyond soccer, bro.
How?
That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
into
If it inspires
taking the
that
money
little boy to
taking
play,
taking the money
it
that
did
you
something.
have and investing it back into your.
Nah,
into
Well,
your
sure.
look, who
country
does that?
people,
Who's doing that?
A lot of soccer players. I don't
Like
keep
who?
track.
not only
Give me an
soccer
example.
players, you got like
You
UFC
really want
fighters
to
too.
make me take 5 minutes
Honestly,
to Google it in the middle of the episode?
Please, we have time.
Honestly, even outside of that, even regardless, even I can't even name somebody off the top of my head. At the end of the day, it's their autonomy to decide whether they want to, play for their national team or not. It's their decision. However,
Thank you.
it's also does not diminish their Africanness, because at the end of the day, if I don't play for a national team and I decide to build schools in Ghana or any other African country,
like-
you cannot take that away from me.
I know a
Because at
perfect
the end
example
of the
for that
day,
too.
What
I don't even
I've
know
just
if I
put
wanna
out
do
into
this.
the world goes beyond the sport of soccer.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I mean,
Like, even
that could be
specifically-
true. I'm not. I mean, even me right now, like I know I have the Malian jersey on, but I don't really represent Mali, to be honest.
Yeah, 'cause they whack.
This is more like Africa. Yeah.
You're trash. I mean, I'm sorry.
I represent. I identify as African today.
Today?
Yeah, today.
That's going to be quoted.
Just because the things that goes on in some of these African countries, it's just depressing, you know. So for me, it's like I see exactly why they don't want to represent those countries. I see why, but
So Tiki is picking and choosing right now.
2 cents on it. So right now, I'm representing Africa. I'm not representing Mali specifically, and that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And
All right.
and like you said, it's their autonomy. They can do whatever they want with their decision. But once they make their decision, they stand on that. just like today, I'm gonna stand on.
Yeah,
My
I'm not
African
doing
identity.
this. Next episode, I promise to come with all the facts that we need
Yeah,
to
yeah. That's what I'm
dispute
saying. You
this
guys
thing.
didn't come with facts.
We're gonna
today,
leave
so
this one.
I'll take my one over.
No,
Here
you're
we
just
go.
shooting vague to vague
Nah.
things like
Facts.
who's
One
giving
over
back
at
when you know
halftime.
very well anybody's
Nah.
giving back. So it's like, how am I supposed to answer that with actual
give me
facts
an
right in front of
example.
you? Yeah, no, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And you'll
Memphis
have
Depay.
them.
But, I mean,
I'm
this-
very confident that we're entirely right.
Huh?
By the way,
Yeah,
I don't feel wrong,
bruh,
but
yeah,
we don't need to dispute it anymore.
Memphis Depay African.
Yeah, he invests a lot of money and like his resources back into like Ghana and stuff.
I
Right
don't know.
now.
Last time
he
I
built a
checked-
school.
Last time I checked, Memphis Depay was Dutch, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but he's half Dutch, half white.
Huh?
I mean, he's half white, half Ghanaian.
Okay.
So like he built a school in Ghana.
No, but I mean, in all seriousness, I know I'm trying to play devil's advocate right now, but in all seriousness, the reason these players do this stuff is just the opportunity it gives them. You know, you decide your whole life they played in these Netherlands. For example, Memphis Depay gave me an example. Who's a famous soccer player. He played in the Netherlands academy his whole life. He doesn't know anything else about the Netherlands. He lived in the Netherlands.
That's inaccurate.
You know what I mean?
Cause he be
How-
in Ghana every other like month.
Yeah, but bro, he goes to Ghana now as an adult. Like he's bro. Okay, let's talk about this.
All right.
Being African just started being cool in like 2022. Or maybe
I
2020.
hate
A little more than
taking
that. I would say like 2016, 2017 started
Okay,
getting really cool.
2015.
2016. You're right. Being African just started being cool. So when we see all these athletes going back and doing like, yeah, Africa, bro, where were they when we were struggling?
They were
Come on.
kids.
Huh?
They were kids.
They were kids.
They were kids.
They were
Leroy
kids.
Sané is our age. Godi Kabo is our age.
They're
Kylian Mbappe is
they
our
were probably getting
age.
picked on as well.
Yeah.
Huh?
You never know the experience what they went through.
Yeah.
Identifying with Africa and stuff.
Come on, bro. I was over here African getting bullied by
Right.
black people. It was very confusing growing up.
This is a perfect segue into what we're gonna talk about next. This is great. Let's just move on. But I'm just saying the people, even the people that came before them, as well. Like it wasn't cool to be African for a minute, guys. This has just started.
Agreed.
We can all agree to that. So,
Agreed. But I don't want to call them bandwagons without knowing. That's my thing.
Okay, we don't know for sure, right? But I'm gonna speculate today and say that these guys were bandwagon. Memphis Depay goes down and sits down next to the king of Africa. I love seeing it. Nice Memphis Depay, right? But Memphis Depay is not playing for Ghana. I'm sorry. Move on.
But he, all right,
bro.
all right,
Move on.
whatever, yo. That's taking opinion, but it's all
he
good.
can wrap us up. He can wrap us up. I don't mind.
And that
I don't
brings
mind the
that
loser
brings
wrapping it up.
Our next topic, right? Which is very diaspora oriented stuff, and maybe we might not have too much time to spend on it because we are kind of the sport. When we start talking about sports, we go on a tangent, but we kind of touch up on it a little bit. But to kind of keen on it specifically, there's this idea of specifically, right? We're gonna say Africans, like you brought up, you're getting picked on. Africans versus African Americans, and that identity, and it could be also French, whatever specific country you're from, but I guess French Africans, and then just French versus the French people, you know. So I guess the question is, I know this is a huge debate. This can go on for hours.
we're
but
not
let's-
gonna do this
we'll
one
just
too
give our
crazy on
opinions on it really quickly.
We're gonna have a part two for that.
Yeah, no,
course.
this is episode 1 coming back on camera, so we're just giving you guys some of the juicy stuff, and we're gonna develop on stuff later. But this is the new format as well. We're gonna bounce off different subjects. It's more of a lifestyle one and how it's like cultural one. But like, what's your opinion on that? Like African versus African American. You know, obviously, coming here for some of us, maybe me and Lord coming here and versus being born here, right? Like it's kind of, you have like an identity battle, and I know a lot of people struggle with this as well, and this is actually serious sometimes. Like it's actually could get very serious. So I don't know, give me your opinions on that. Like
I think
is it should we shape it more as African against the African Americans, or should it be like, you know, something parallel, like African Americans? Like they're not, at some point we cross, but you know,
I think Africans versus African Americans are very divisive.
it is very divisive.
One is
That's
because
why we
it's
do it.
like I feel like every minority had their own share of their own experiences, and it's like only thing I would say is that like, cause the way how a lot of Africans feel coming into like America or these westernized countries and stuff, a lot of Caribbeans do resonate with those experiences as well. But I would say for like a lot of African Americans, they do have a mentality in terms of when people come from abroad, say from like Africa, Caribbean, elsewhere, become this kind of prideful mentality of like, oh, I'm this person, I come from this culture. Who are you guys? You guys don't have no culture, you know? And so I could understand their point of view in terms of kind of being talked down a little bit, in terms of people from like say Africa or the Caribbean or whatever, kind of have a mentality of like the very boastful and prideful mentality, you know. But I could resonate. To be honest, I was born here, and I was
To be
called.
honest.
I was called an immigrant. You feel me? So that was crazy for me.
Okay, get
But
off
I'm
your
like,
chest, bro. I see you real passionate.
I'm from Brooklyn first, so I hold it down. You know.
We can tell.
End of
We
the
see
day.
it fitted.
We get it.
Yeah, but I feel like there's both perspectives. There's both spectrums of the perspective. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys more have to say because you guys are more African. So it's like, yeah, what was you guys' experiences?
I mean, from my experience, I believe that in terms of like the difference, I agree with your point that it is divisive because at the end of the day, being African or being African American is more so cultural than anything rather than race. Because at the end of the day, it's human evolution. At the end of the day, if you come to a foreign land, you know, unwillingly, you're going to create your own culture. And your culture is definitely going to have similarities to where you come from, but also it's going to be vastly different. For example, it's the same thing in regards to like Indians who actually live in India or the Indians that live in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
not true.
you can make those distinguishing factors with that because at the end of the day, it's just the cultural differences. Now, in regards to how we're being treated, like for example, when I came here and somebody who's black is me telling me that I'm black, even though you're black, that goes beyond just the race. It's more so of like just. And learning more about African American and learning more about African American history, I can now more sympathize and empathize in the way they think that way. Because if you're indoctrinated that you yourself is less than, now you're gonna. It's like hurt people, you know. You're gonna see somebody who look like you, and you're gonna think the same thing too. You know what I'm saying? But it's not necessarily the case because at first I was looking at them like, what's wrong with these people? Like, why are they saying that? But learning more about African American history, I understand it.
Yes,
and
sir.
I have more sympathy now with it. I don't condone what I went through because it was really messed up, but I understand why they think the way they do. And I'm glad that there is a mental shift that's going on in regards to like understanding and appreciating your roots too as well, and not diminishing somebody. And there's also to like a tale of two worlds too, because for example, when I came here, I thought that like, you know, African Americans have it easy because back at home, like what you guys consider the slums, back at home would be Pebble Beach. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you can go to your apartment and flush the toilet and everything will go out. Back at home, that's not necessarily the case. If we had to compare those two worlds. So sometimes it's also like African Americans also understanding the world that we come from to also understand that like, hey, although yes, y'all got it bad, but also you also have to understand of how bad we also got it back at home. So that we understand. It's more so about understanding the cultural differences rather than putting more light into the divisiveness of the cultural differences that we have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question for you. Should that be the conversation though? Because I feel like it's really based on like identities. You know, I don't think it's based on like the cultural differences
and ignorance.
When we have this conversation, clearly we know there's cultural differences, and I don't think we even need to like. Maybe making an effort to understand each other's cultures might play a part in what the identity is, but it's more. I think the conversation. Personally, I think when we talk about African versus African American, it's literally a question versus African and black. That's it. Because because I'm saying like in American terms, it's like yo, nah, he's African. He's not black. He's African.
Yeah.
Yo, he's not black. He's African.
Yeah.
He's not black. He's African. He's not black, he's African.
Yeah.
Or they could be like, nah, he's black, but I'm African. So you get that. I think that's more the conversation. That's what it was for me. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm black.
Right. That's
how you gonna tell me I'm not black?
That's why on a deeper lens, I think we have a lot of people like this debate between African Americans and like black people and stuff is very stupid because it's like one, you have black people from all around the world come from different countries, so it's like black is not just being identifying as black. No, you have black people from all around the world. So that makes no sense in terms of like.
No, but I mean, we live in America. That's an American thing. But I do agree with you. Like in other, you know, European countries or like places where there's more black people, like they don't just say, they probably say this specific. Like they're probably a little more specific, into
more
what
culturally like specific. You know,
I think a lot of I think it's a mixture of kind of what you know what I mean, like
the culture aspect. That before you get to your point, the culture aspect that Laura was talking about, that's like the lifestyle, the fight, the divisiveness between Africans and African Americans. That's where it comes. It comes to our culture. Our cultures are not the same. Oh, Amiri brought it up earlier. I think Africans come here, they think they're better than them. Nah, Americans are like, well, if you think you're better than us, we're just gonna shun you away. You know, that's more like the divisive part. But the fundamental part, like the most basic part, is that
how you
black
identify
people in America still find a way they need to differentiate themselves from Africans, but they are African Americans.
Word.
We're all Africans. We're all black at the end of the day. So
yeah.
I think that's where I think, like, in terms of it, what you identify with, and a lot of it depends on the person. Like, it's personal. Like, you have the choice.
Yeah,
you're American, bro. You can choose if you wanna, you're African American as well, but you're also black. Like, and you're African. Like, you're all of them at once. So
yeah.
I don't know. It really depends on the person. But I think that's where the conversation, in terms of what you identify with first, and then we could get into those cultural barriers that stop us from getting together. And we could also talk about our history, but
And that's why I believe like this system kind of messed up our whole mentality in terms of black, African American, XYZ. Because what if you're a person of a mixed culture? You identify, you half black, half Indian, half white, half black. Like, who do you identify with?
So for me, I think like a lot of my, well, I mean, how I can answer the question is just my experience. Like, I think when I grew up, a lot of it was dictated by others. Like if I was black or African, because I didn't know I was black. I guess ignorantly you grow up and you don't realize the terminology type thing.
You just said that.
But then when I went to I guess it was in elementary school that like people started being like, not like you black or like, you know what I mean, like you African, like it's not the same. But that's when all the you know what I mean. Like, I'm not even gonna get into all the little I'm not gonna get into all the little jokes just in case people are rattled. I don't want to hit PTSD if anybody.
You special black. You special black.
The elemental, But I grew up and I'm like, dang, I'm African. It just was what it was, and I just accepted it. And for a long time, I was just what it was. That was my distinction, and I owned it too. Like I would go around and I would say things.
You, like, for example, if somebody ask you, "Hey Adama, are you black?" Would you be like, "Nah, I'm African"?
No, now.
No. Back then, would you be like, "Nah, I'm African"?
Oh, back then, yes. I think for like that was like middle school up until high school. I would say I was African, but after a while, I learned myself that it was like, oh, like obviously I grew up. The bullying didn't matter anymore. It was kind of like, oh, what the hell? They were just ignorant as hell and just crack jokes because that's what they could crack jokes at. You know what I'm saying? True. Like there was nobody else to make fun of, so it was like, all right, make fun of you and when I think about it, everybody made fun of everybody. It's not like it was just like the African joke was the joke for me. The fat joke was the fat joke for the fat kid. The black joke was the black joke for the other kid.
Jokes,
you know what I mean? So it was like kind of what it was. Then I get to a certain age and I'm like, now I'm African because I choose to be type thing. You know what I mean? Like, and then once I got there, that was just a personal choice. Now at this point in my life, if you call me black, I probably wouldn't respond because it's like, what type of ignorant question is that? It's like, maybe if you ask me where I'm from, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. Luckily, those interactions happened with the youth, and not really as an adult. Now it's like, where are you from? You know what I mean? And then those are the things. And I would probably say I'm from Senegal immediately. Yeah. But maybe that might be just because clearly we're in the United States. So like if you ask me, I might be thinking like you're clearly asking me about my ethnicity. But that also, just a quick, and I'll stop here. It's just like, to your point, even if you're asking me where am I from, even if we are in the United States, the fact that I still immediately think Senegal speaks to the fact of how I identify as them wholeheartedly. And
stuff like that. I mean, it's tough. But I mean, the most basic question, is this conversation important? Like, do you guys think this is an important conversation?
Definitely.
Yes and no. Like, yes, it's an important conversation to have, just for us to understand each other, where we come from, and just how history has definitely shaped like what it means to be, this color in different parts of the world. Because also what I found out is that, for example, the black people that live in America are not privy to what goes on around the world, and I guess that's an American thing compared to people in the Caribbean. The people in the Caribbean are more privy to like
the rest of the world,
African culture. You know what I'm saying? Or even the rest of the world, compared to like actual black Americans that live over here. So you also got that U.S. exceptionalism also sprinkled in on top of just the plight that black Americans have to go through in this country, and also on top of that, teaching you how to vilify your fellow brother, and the next thing you know, it transforms onto your fellow brother that comes from a different side of the ocean to your fellow brother in all aspect of just living or being African American. Going to your point in regards to no, It's not an important conversation because at the end of the day, it is something where I believe at some point it can get redundant in regards to, hey, we understand that we're all coming from different walks of life. At the end of the day, it doesn't diminish that we all go through our own various plights at some point in life. So the us versus them mentality of like who got it worse, who got it best, you're this, you're that, it's totally different. Because at the end of the day, a major tragedy happened to our race and has trickled down or spread into different
If you
parts
want our final word,
thing.
make it.
So my final word is,
But I'll wrap up on a little something else. But
my final
Make a
word
final
is this conversation important? Yes or no? It all depends on
Bro,
who you
look,
are and how you
bro,
boy,
you-
choosing
you
the
like,
middle
are
is
you
crazy. Why are we even here? If you're gonna
Look,
just
are
choose
you
the middle,
choosing the
it's
middle, bro?
yes
Nothing.
or
Oh,
no.
my
You said a
God.
whole bunch of.
Yeah, you trying to pick politics right now. Like, come on, bro.
This is not what it is.
Choose a side,
Okay,
bro.
I do have a final point to say on the point you were trying to make, and I actually find this kind of funny. And I know I'm always a devil's advocate, and I'm just gonna be it this time again. You said that people in America, black, they don't know about the rest of the world,
Not privy, no.
bro. It's depressing. Why would you learn about Africa? It's
Oh
depressing.
my gosh! All right.
And that's one. And two. I want to say also, other than our music right now and some of our cultural
oh,
things,
TK, you're on fire today.
what else? What else is there?
You're on
to talk
fire
about?
today. Don't.
What else is there? You gonna talk about the
There's
government?
more.
No, government. Oh, you know about
There's
government?
more.
No, Lord.
There's
Don't
more.
get tapped. Don't get tapped.
No,
Don't get
because
tapped.
here's the
No,
thing.
hold on.
Like a lot of
Don't
our,
get tapped.
Let me finish my
like
point. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point before you say what you have to say. If you look at it today, right? The reason everybody looks at America and even Americans look at Americans because everything cool is from America. Everything cool is from America. The reason
The factory's here. The story gets shipped
the
out
story,
from here.
Everything is here.
Sure.
Right? The reason Americans don't take much interest into much of the world is because, bro, everything they need is here.
Yes.
Why do I need to take interest unless I want to be super cultural and learn about other cultures? Yes, you have to do that. But
My cousin
if you
learned
don't want
English
to,
from
you don't
Soulja
have
Boy.
to do- If I want to go today a day in my life without ever learning one thing about Africa again, I can in America.
And
today.
honestly, that's the biggest problem, and that's how you get into trouble in other
How's that a
countries.
problem?
Because you
Ladies
don't
and
learn about
gentlemen.
how other people live, and you think you can live the same way
Why do
over
I need
here
to?
in other people's country, and you find
But
yourself
look, why do I
in
need
trouble.
to? Why do I need you? I'm saying no. Take yourself out of Lord and how Lord thinks, and think about the just another American, working class American, just walking around. Why do I need to worry about Africa? I have my own worries here.
Because the things that some of the liberations and some of the things, the rights that we've got in this country, literally stems from Africa. Because all of our black leaders at one point went back to the motherland. We talking Martin Luther King. We're talking Maya
Malcolm
Angelou.
X.
We're talking all these. Went back and
Mandela.
find their roots.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
came back here and
Exactly.
led the movement forward.
Exactly.
So that's why it's important.
that's a different
because
conversation.
part of your history comes from there.
Yeah, but that's a different conversation. That's a different. If you're talking about no,
Keys,
but if
my
you're talking
brother.
about people going back and learning about their roots, sure. But I'm just saying, as an American, I'm sorry to be vain again. Why do I care? If I was an American, why do I care?
You should
I mean,
care.
it's a personal
Why do I
choice.
care?
to end up
My
caring.
No comment.
lineage is so far from there now. Like, why do I care? Because
You wanna
be
find
honest,
yourself?
No, but let's be honest. Why do I care?
I mean, why do people end up caring? I mean, to
Even I'm not talking about just black. Even white Americans.
Yeah.
Anything. Why do I care?
why do? I mean, it's a personal choice. It's hard
That's
to
what
argue
I'm saying.
that. Yeah,
It's a personal
You wake
choice.
up and you want to do it, but you
But
definitely
that's
don't
why
have to.
people don't go back. That's why African or people from other gravitate towards here, and we don't gravitate because over there. I'm gonna say it one more time. It gets depressing.
All right.
It's not depressing.
It gets depressing.
It's not depressing.
I mean, Lord.
Bro, you guys know
Yeah,
I love Africa.
right.
Yes.
Every day I'll fight every.
You're
every
definitely
day.
not going back unless
Right.
you're situated.
Yes, bro.
Be
Why?
honest. Like you would never go back
True.
unless you're situated. But people would come here and risk. Not
I'm
being
just
situated
saying.
if they were not.
Let's just be honest with each other. If you want to be
That's a
honest,
fair point.
you looking
That-
at it
that
from
kind of right there,
Lord's
that's
point
the
of view.
whole
What
thing.
I'm saying is take yourself out of Lord's shoes and look at it from somebody working class. They gotta wake up in the morning, go to work, and get their money to get their families right. And you want them to worry about Africa?
No,
Bro,
worry,
go on the internet.
no.
Go on the
I don't think he's
internet,
saying
read
that
about it.
either.
Not worry about Africa, but at the end
No,
of the
go
day,
back. You know how much flights cost? Like, come on. Like, logistically, it just doesn't make sense.
But at the end of the day, we're all connected, Joe. One way, shape, or form, we are all
man is a monster.
we are all connected. And if you don't try to at least learn how other people live that look like you in different parts of the world, you losing a part of the connection to
Lord, that's
to-
their
to
choice.
The same thing.
That's not for us
Yeah,
to
I mean,
make. That's their
And
choice.
It's hard to demand that of people, right?
No, not demand that of people, but
Not to ask
that's
them
a
to,
choice
yeah.
that, like,
That's their choice.
at the end of the day, I feel like just adds more depth to you as a human being.
And I agree.
You're right.
I
We agree
with you.
on that.
You're right.
We agree.
You're right. But that's their choice to make.
Expand your mind.
Yeah, that's their choice to make. You can
that's the whole
research.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
that's their choice to make.
Yeah.
That's not for us to decide. If they want to do that, then yeah, I'm there. Hey, hit us on Instagram. This is Africa. You're a TIA pod actually on
TI_pod.
TI_pod. Hit us up and we will give you whatever resources necessary you need for these things. I would love to do it.
See you soon, though. And
And
goodbye,
we'll see you
guys.
next time.